There's a strange thing that happens to a person on a motorcycle, and I want to start there because I think the popular explanations for it are wrong. You'd assume someone leaning into a curve at 60 miles an hour would have a racing heart and a mind full of static. From outside, it looks chaotic, loud, borderline reckless. But ask a rider what's happening in their head while they ride, and most of them will tell you the same surprising thing. It gets quiet. Not bored quiet, not numb quiet. The kind of quiet you can't manufacture in your living room no matter how many candles you light or how many breathing apps you download. A quiet that arrives without permission and disappears the second they pull into the driveway. That quiet is the part of this story that nobody is really explaining well. So here's the version I keep coming back to. I want you to picture an ordinary Tuesday evening first because the contrast matters. It's 11:40 at night. Your phone is face down on the kitchen counter, glowing slightly at the edge of the granite. Nothing is wrong. Nobody is hurting you. The doors are locked. The dog is asleep. And your chest is tight with a dread that has no shape. Tomorrow's inbox, a thing your boss said in a meeting last Thursday, a text you haven't answered. You are completely safe. You are also completely unable to be inside your own body. That's the room most modern adults live in. Not danger, not crisis, just a low buzzing alarm that never quite gets loud enough to do anything about and never quiets down long enough for you to rest. I used to think the answer to that buzz was to add more calm. Lower the lights, drink the tea, sit on the floor. I'm less sure of that now. The frame I've come to trust, and I'm holding it loosely, is that for a certain kind of mind, more calm doesn't quiet the noise. It amplifies it. You sit on the cushion, close your eyes, and the racing thoughts don't slow down. They get a microphone. What that mind actually needs isn't more silence. It's a task heavy enough to push everything else out. That's what I think the motorcycle actually is. Not a death wish. Not a midlife crisis, not chrome therapy, a task heavy enough that the worried part of your brain literally cannot run while you're doing it. Try this scene. You merge onto the highway. The bike is 400 pounds of metal between your knees. You feel the clutch cable resist your hand. You smell the asphalt baking in the late sun. The wind hits your chest hard enough to tilt you a quarter-inch backward. A truck shifts lanes ahead of you, and you adjust your speed before you've consciously decided to. Your eyes are scanning the road surface for gravel, oil slicks, a piece of tire. Your hips are already preparing for the curve 100 feet ahead. Try in that moment to worry about your inbox. You can't, not because you're suppressing it, because the part of your brain that does the worrying has been completely conscripted by something more urgent. The road needs all of you, and your mortgage cannot compete with the road. That's the real mechanism, and I think we name it wrong when we call it adrenaline or thrill-seeking. What's actually happening is a kind of forced presence, the same kind a surgeon feels in the third hour of an operation, the same kind a chef feels during the dinner rush, the same kind a parent feels in the 4 seconds it takes to catch a falling toddler. It's the strange piece of a task that will not let you be anywhere else. I want to be careful here, because this is where the topic usually goes off the rails. I'm not talking about people who use a public road as an outlet for rage. The guy who fights with his wife and goes out to terrorize the freeway at 120 isn't finding peace. He's redistributing his anger onto strangers. That's not what we're talking about. The peace I'm describing comes from cautious, attentive riding, the kind that demands every ounce of your focus precisely because you are taking the danger seriously, not ignoring it. The peace isn't in the speed. The peace is in being forced to actually be there for one continuous hour. There's a reason this same mechanism shows up in the lives of people who have been through real extremes. People returning from combat zones often describe an unexpected version of this. They survive a war and come home, And the sterile, padded, climate-controlled world they return to feels not like relief but like static. The grocery store aisle, brightly lit, fully stocked, completely safe, and they're standing in it unable to feel anything at all. The trauma isn't that life is too intense. The trauma is that life back here has stopped being able to reach them. That's why programs that put veterans back on motorcycles aren't recreation. They're a way of giving the mind a task again, something with weight, something the static can't compete with. I don't think you have to be a writer to recognize what I'm describing. The same mechanism shows up in smaller, gentler forms all the time. The friend of yours who only feels okay when she's deep in a hard climbing route. The guy at your office who is somehow most relaxed during the worst week of a project. The mom who finally exhales while she's cooking a complicated meal for 10 people and falls apart when she finally sits down. The hospice nurse who feels more present in a dying patient's room than at her own dinner table. None of these people are addicted to stress. They've found tasks heavy enough to give their mind an actual place to be. Here's the part I want you to actually hear, if you only hear one thing. Most of what we call peace is just the inability to think about anything else at the moment. Read that twice, because the version of peace we keep getting sold, the candles, the cushions, the soft music, the empty calendar, assumes the mind will quiet down if you give it nothing to do. For some people that works. For a lot of people it doesn't. A mind that is already loud doesn't get quieter when you remove the input. It gets louder. What it needs isn't less. It needs something so demanding that the noise has nowhere to live. That's the silent cost the safe modern life has put on us. Not stress. The opposite. We have engineered a life so frictionless that the mind can't find purchase anywhere, and a mind without purchase chews on itself. So here's what I'd offer, gently. If you've ever wondered why a person you love disappears into something risky or physical or all-consuming on the hardest weeks of their life, it might not be avoidance. It might be the first place all week their head has had something heavier to carry than their own thoughts. And if you are that person, you don't owe anyone an explanation for how you find your quiet. You aren't running from your life. You are looking for the one room where the rest of your life can't follow you in. You'll probably still wake up tomorrow with that same tight chest, the same dread of the inbox, the same buzzing nothing. Not because you didn't understand any of this. Because understanding and quieting do not move at the same speed. But I keep wondering what would happen if you stopped trying to make the noise smaller and started looking for a task big enough to make it disappear. What are you protecting yourself from by staying so safe? You're not risking your life out there. You're remembering you have one.